Welcome back to the Mentors. Thanks for tuning in. This is Sergey. Just a quick reminder before we get started with our episode. We are still taking a few more submissions for people to speak with us on the phone, to give us feedback about the show, but in return, get a little bit of mentorship or go through any questions that you might have that you might want to ask us. And to schedule that, just email us at info@thementors.co. That's info@thementors.co, and we'll find 20 minutes to talk and ask you just a few questions. Another quick note that for this week's 5-minute pick-me-up that we just finished recording, we tried using a new microphone, and about 5 minutes in, you might hear some static for a few minutes of the episode. We promise you it's not that bad, but I did just want to give you a heads up ahead of time that you might experience hearing that. There's nothing wrong with your headphones. We just had a little bit of issue with our microphone. Thanks for listening, and here's our episode for today.
Wait, that's not the
I don't know.
American
I don't know, actually.
national anthem.
Of course it's not.
It's French.
Yes.
Why are we singing the
Is
French?
it? No, I don't think it's an anthem. Is it? Wow. We took French for 2 years in middle school and are clearly not cultured enough, but welcome back to
The Mentors.
This is Vadim.
And Sergey.
And you're listening to our weekly segment called the 5-Minute Pick-Me-Up, where we tell you stories to motivate you for the week to come.
And we wanted to share something with you today. It is right in the title, but 25 years ago, just this past Thursday, Vadim and I and our families, well, we should say our parents, and they tagged us along, moved to the United States of America. We landed at Boston Logan Airport on September 26, 1994, and we've spent an amazing 25 years in this country, and I can tell you, Vadim and I feel probably more American than anything else. We were almost 9 when we came here. But what we want to talk about today is how in life sometimes unexpected things can happen. Your situation can drastically change, but it is always temporary. For us, it was in 94 when our dad was 54 and our mom was 44, and they picked up all their kids, the 3 kids, and my grandparents, and moved all the way across the ocean to a place they knew nothing about and didn't really know how life worked here.
And in the beginning, it was, of course, difficult. Our parents both left successful careers in education. My dad had to leave a whole school that he built literally from the ground up. He helped lay the brick, if you will, in the school, and he had to leave that all behind. And a career that he spent 3 decades building just to bring us a better life. And in the beginning, the 7 of us lived in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment in Worcester, Massachusetts. And as you can imagine, that itself can be difficult as well. And we had financial woes, everything that you would expect if you literally uproot the whole family and move to another world without really any prospects. Now, I will say we had it a little bit easier. We had a family here as well that helped us out. But still, we had to figure things out. And I should say our parents had to figure things out. But immediately, they just rolled up their sleeves and got to work. Our mom got a job taking care of elderly people. Again, somebody with a highly educated and a great career in Belarus had to go back to doing that. Even though she spoke English fluently, that's what was available at the time. Our dad took a job at a gas station, literally getting paid $5 an hour. It didn't even have a roof of that gas station, so in the winters you got snowed on, in the spring you got rained on, and so forth. But for one reason or another, even though this time was incredibly difficult, and some may say from the outside looking in negative, our parents just buckled down and did the work. In a very short few years, our dad was running his own business and we were buying a house, something that we could not have ever imagined. I mean, people in Belarus, for example, did not really own houses, right? That alone was something completely new and unique. And all it took was a short few years.
And our mom actually also got a job as a full-time English as a second language teacher because she got her license in teaching and all of that. But yeah, I mean, when they came here, they started off not knowing what the future would hold. And they leveled up along the way, though. That's one thing that Vadim and I were reminiscing and thinking about this week, is that even though they started off with sort of just whatever opportunities were around them. Our dad's first job actually was painting mugs for some elderly lady for like $3 an hour, $4 an hour. Then he saw an opportunity at a gas station. He thought maybe I could potentially own and operate one if I learned how to work for this guy and do it. Then he got an opportunity working at a shopping mall and ended up buying that guy's business when he saved up enough money to do so, and grew it from there. And our mom as well, she had to take care of everything because no one else spoke English, and day to day figuring out what jobs they were going to do to make ends meet, and eventually she ended up becoming a teacher. But it did take a couple of years, but by not dwelling on their negative situation or change in circumstances, they were able to pull themselves out of it relatively quickly. So things can change relatively quickly. For some people, a couple months. For some, it could take a couple of years, but that's still a relatively short period of time.
If you've been a long-time listener to the show, then you know that when we were 29, we had to move back home with our parents, partly because our father was sick, but also partly because we were running a startup and we were running out of money and we couldn't pay rent in New York City anymore. And while that might seem like a really negative time all around, and of course it was a challenging time, things turned around really quickly. We started another business probably 3 or 4 months in that generated revenue within weeks of starting that business. And within a few more months, both Sergey and I got incredible opportunities in New York City that would further our careers. And again, that was in a matter of months. You take something like we had lived in New York for 5 years at that point and had all our friends here and built a life here, to having to move back home with our parents. It seems like, wow, how am I ever going to come back out of that?
There were some days that we did think like, damn, like didn't expect for this to happen. But with each day that passed, there was a bigger sense of urgency to figure out how to get back to New York City. And I think that's why we were able to do it in a short 6 months. We were really motivated over that period of time.
Well, and also I think having nothing to lose is a great motivator, right? Things don't seem as risky anymore. You have nowhere to go but up. So the point of us telling the story is that, look, all of us have various challenges, even now, in our day-to-day lives. Sometimes those challenges can feel paralyzing. The important part is not to stay paralyzed too long. If you don't act, then the only thing that's certain is that you will stay in the exact same spot where you have been. And the thing is, you don't have to know exactly where you're going to go. You don't have to have everything planned out, because oftentimes things pan out in ways that we could not have predicted. But by realizing that it's only temporary, and that maybe it's going to be a matter of weeks, months, maybe a few years, but things will turn around, that alone should help motivate you. One thing you could do now is think about the times in your life where you have had challenges where it seemed hopeless, but you got back out of it, and you were in a positive trajectory again, whether that meant being fulfilled again or happy again or whatever it is your goal was. And that is kind of the cycle of life, if you will. Nothing's ever permanent.
And one other thing to remember is that while you are currently in this moment of time, in a situation, let's say, that you may not be fully happy with or content with, you want more maybe in one aspect in life or another, just try to be okay with where you are now. You should have some urgency to move forward and act, like Vadim said, but also don't be so hard on yourself. You can only move past negative feelings and inaction by first becoming okay with the fact that you're in a current situation, and then starting to act to figure out your way out of it.
One way to do that, of course, is to practice gratitude and try to keep top of mind the things that are great in your life, like having health, for example, right? That's something that you shouldn't take for granted. If you're healthy, that's one thing that at least paves the way for you to be able to turn things around in every other aspect of your life. Now, Sergey and I might sound a little bit relaxed and calm right now, maybe not as energetic as usual. We just came from about 4 hours at the Russian bathhouse, the Turkish baths, about a block away from my apartment, so we actually do feel really relaxed, but also feel great. And hopefully you had a fantastic Sunday, and now you're going in and ready to tackle the week on this fine Monday. And remember, if there are obstacles and you do find moments where things aren't working out as well as you wanted them to, let the moment pass, let it wash over you, and remember, it's only temporary.
That's it for the 5-minute pick-me-up for this week, and we'll see you on Wednesday.